Check, check. Um, a couple of things. Recently, one of our favorite persons to watch on YouTube regarding 3D printing has commented that all of a sudden, uh, 3D prints are filament printing, not resin. All of a sudden, 3D filament printing is a problem, and this was just like fairly recently. And what he was getting at was um, that after a period of time, mechanically speaking, the 3D printing technology fails. The components fail. There are issues that cause failures. For me, this is true. The various issues, well, the number one issue is where are you getting the files for your prints? That's the point. I need to make sure this is working. I think it is. Oh, I need to move over. Okay. Um, where are you getting them from? I get them from Thingiverse or other places, but mostly Thingiverse. And I kludge them, cut them, edit them in Mesh Mixer, and make new files, and then test them, and then if they work, repeat, rinse and repeat. But then all of a sudden, something goes weird, like a column. Let's just say you're printing a post, a solid fill post, simple, uh, 2 or 3 millimeters in diameter, about 4 millimeters tall, that kind of a thing. It's a post, because maybe it's going to hold up a little sign, or maybe it's going to hold up a bushy tree. It's going to look like a tree, and that's the kind of thing I've been dealing with lately. Fail. First it works, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And I'm like, what happened? Well, there's a couple of things, and I've checked them all. And essentially, as I said, the mechanical nature of the machines is potential failure points. So because there are potential failure points, they will happen. Eventually, your 3D printer, by the time you get it, depending on how much you use it, like me, for instance, I probably have gone way, way beyond the value of my original Ender 3 Pro. I mean, when I first got it, like the days in the 1980s, when the Macintosh first came out, we were some of the few people in the region of Phoenix, Arizona, to get a Macintosh, and we never turned it off. We used it for like 36 hours nonstop. We didn't sleep. Forget about the drugs. Doesn't matter. We didn't sleep. Uh, and it was a rental. So the guy in the computer store, you remember those computer stores? He had a Macintosh, and we rented it, and we never turned it off. We used it all the time, playing around with it. And well, oh, look what we can do. Look at this. Look at this. And then all this new software starts jumping on the market. Remember? What was one called? Mac Write. And then Right Now, which was my favorite, beyond belief favorite. Uh, Right Now was fantastic as a word processor. And forget about all the Microsoft stuff that then started coming out. Right Now was one of my favorite programs of all time. And then, of course, for screenplay production, all kinds of new text editing softwares come out. But the issue of the 3D printing technology, when it came out, everybody's, oh, wow, ooh. And I never stopped my Ender 3 Pro from printing. Why? Because I was printing all kinds of stuff. And forget about what I printed, because it was just a ton. Bridges, fences, walls, houses, uh, all different scales, but generally up to 172 or 22 millimeter scale. I need to specify because people go, oh, 172 is 20 millimeter. No, it's not. 172 scale is 22 millimeter, period. Anything less than that called 172 is 20 millimeter. Or it is, well, I can't even say that. HO. No, it's not HO scale. HO scale, technically speaking, by measurement, is 1/87th scale. It's what's that name of the company that makes armored vehicles? Anyway, 1/87th scale. Yeah, so they fail. The prints fail. The creation, who's creating these things? Well, it's true. Sometimes when you download a file, there's something wrong with it. There's just something that's not right. And it's screwing up your usage. Like, for instance, let's go back to my tree situation. I was printing 6 to 10 millimeter trees. Why? Because I'm doing this Excalibur thing, which you're looking at right now. And as you can see over here, these are not necessarily failures. These are successes. You can't see it. Okay, down here. Here. It helps to have a gooseneck microphone. A gooseneck, well, it's a gooseneck microphone, but it's a gooseneck tripod, monopod. And my phone is on it. I'm using the phone as a camera. These are all 3D printed trees for the Excalibur board game. And you're going to say, well, wait a minute, Terry, you had all these little fuzzy things out here, all these so-called, these pom-poms. Sorry about the creaking of the monopod, but that's just what it does. These little things, pom-poms from a craft store. Well, those look fine, Terry. Why are you doing these? I'm doing these because these are sustainable. Well, hypothetically, they're sustainable, right? Sustainable, repeatable, and affordable is the main thing. These little fuzzy things are actually not that affordable. They're relatively expensive. You can get them anywhere, but the fact is they're not always the same color. And so therefore you got to paint them, right? And so you have no control. Well, we want control. We want to be able to paint things the colors that we want. And if you can't buy them in the colors that you want, you have to paint them. So, well, that's the same as painting these things. And these are free. Well, they're so inexpensive, they're practically free. It's just a matter of time on your 3D printer. So what does that mean, Terry? Okay, I have an Ender 3 Pro. I have an Elegoo Mars. I'm sorry, I do have an Elegoo Mars. I'm sorry, no, I have an Elegoo Mercury Plus. And I have an Elegoo, that's a resin printer. And I have, wait a minute, that's a Mars. No, I don't remember. Anyway, I have an Elegoo resin printer. And I have an Elegoo filament printer called a Neptune. And the difference between, and this is what that guy was saying, the Australian guy, I think he's Australian. He's a wonderful guy, and his shows are just bloody perfect. Brilliant. The Ender 3 Pro, fantastic machine. But like I said, I used it so much, it's practically burned up. And what am I getting at in closing? The mechanical nature of the machine begins to show signs of failure. Is that what happened to me? I don't know. Because I was experiencing these failures, I'm like, something's got to be wrong all of a sudden, right? I'm like, something's got to be wrong. Okay, maybe, and then I found out his show, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe that is the problem. Maybe I have Z wobble. I suffer from Z wobble. Yeah, maybe. I don't know that. I mean, did I measure it with a caliper? No, I just don't have a caliper, okay? I know I should. Former engineer, or whatever, son of an engineer, not having a caliper is like unforgivable. Okay, I don't have one. Did I measure it? Well, I used a ruler and it looked like it was okay, but the fact is I downloaded, which worked, a file from Thingiverse which would hold the upright screw threaded rod properly, because the Ender 3 Pro didn't come with that naturally, originally. Hopefully it does now, but I'm not sure. I will never buy another Ender 3 Pro. Why? Because the Elegoo Neptune is vastly superior. There is no question. It's night and day, literally black and white, literally. Now, the Ender 3s might be getting cheaper because of these new developments. Okay, fine. So you can play with it, get one, play with it, but don't depend on it. Eventually, it's going to have issues. There are mechanical issues. There are a lot of other issues that came. It's one of the first things that came out in this 3D printing age. Okay? So bear that in mind. But it's more affordable. That's it. It's slower. The Elegoo Neptune is extremely fast. Does that mean your prints will go fast? No. It means that it's potentially capable of going very fast, depending on the kind of file you are printing. It will not print a tiny little tree very fast. Why? Because of the speed of the machine. That little tiny model that you're trying to print could potentially be knocked off because of the speed of the damn head. It's way too fast. Why do they make it so fast? Well, they made it fast because they figured people are going to be printing things like, this big and this tall or taller. They figure people are going to be printing things like, useful things. Things that are not have anything to do with wargaming, anything around the house. Okay, so not these. All right. So in our universe, and here, let me go back. Let me take my noisy. Okay, see this church, right? That 3D printed little church. If I'd have bought that, it would have cost like $9, a ridiculous amount of money, absolutely unforgivable, spared no expense. No, but it's not a sustainable situation when you have to buy it. Invest in the machine and make your own. You can make them by the hundreds. Why? Because you need about 100 of them, especially on a board game this big, 5 by 5 feet. Yeah, you might need 30, 40, I think. I don't remember now if the rules say that you can have a church in every manor or just one per parish. I'm not sure. What's a parish? A parish is a group of manors. And then what are we looking at? What's a manor? All the little villages you see in the Excalibur board game are manors. Okay, this is an English countryside, Middle Ages, early Middle Ages. Well, anyway, there's opportunities here to make it other eras. For instance, take away some of the trees or change up the map and print a new map, and you can have an Ancientscape with the same concepts. Anyway, so that's where we are, and so failures, yeah, irritating, yeah. Don't buy an Ender 3 if you're just getting into this. Well, actually, I wonder if that's a good statement to make. I wonder if you've never purchased a 3D printer, I wonder if you should go with an Ender 3 Pro. Or I don't know about Ender 5. I don't have one, so I can't speak to the Ender 5s. I don't know. But I don't know if you'd have to weigh it, the cost benefit. I don't know if you want to step into 3D printing with an Elegoo Neptune. If you had some serious printing to do, like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to say just on war games, but believe me, the Neptune, the Elegoo Neptune has already paid for itself. And, well, the Ender 3 Pro paid for itself. It's 3 years old now or more, and it's already paid for. I think it paid for itself like our Macintosh within the first 48 hours. Okay. Well, wait a minute. There was a learning curve. Okay. So anyway, there we are. That's our situation, and so what are we going to do? Are we going to go back to the resin printing? The idea is we need so many forests to get away from these fuzzy things that we need to have two machines going, and so that's what we're doing. We at the Ender 3, once we got our file figured out and we know what the errors are and we've adjusted it and now we're printing. Okay, Ender 3 on my left, Elegoo Neptune on my right on a different table. They're both printing fine. Am I using I'm looking at you, buddy. The resin printer over there at the end of the table? Not yet. Am I going to? Maybe. What's the platen size? It's only about this big. Is that big enough to do a forest? Well, it's big enough to do this much forest, but it's resin. Even though it's water-based resin, which doesn't mean you can dump it down the sink. Don't do that. It means that the resin can be rinsed in water instead of some hazardous chemical. and that's why I do it. So, save the water. Don't dump it down the sink. A tiny, tiny bit of water-based resin runoff is, I think, acceptable, but avoid it. If you can, when you're using that, take the resin and brush it off onto a pan, plastic pan, and then go put the pan in the sun and let it get the ultraviolet ray soak up, and become solid. And then dispose of it in a landfill. Dispose of it in the garbage. Okay, so yeah, just don't dump the water out. And always, everything you do, be environmentally as sound as you possibly can. Imagine everything you do contributes to a landfill or bad ocean waters. Okay? Everything you do. Even when you go to the bathroom, it all contributes, right? So just bear it in mind. Okay, this morning's rant is concluding, but there we are. And as you see, we have these neat little movement trays for our troops. And another innovation is that we've got colored discs instead of the dots being applied to the stands of each individual figure. The colored stands, the discs, they're just 1 inch in diameter, are fantastic, and it was worth the money. Again, Amazon. And we hopefully got enough of them so that the game can be run relatively good. I don't know if I have enough for 6 people playing the game because it's designed for 6, but I've never had 6 people play this game. Maybe back when it came out, it would have happened, but no. It would be great because, did you ever have 6 people playing Monopoly? No. You really only have 4, right? Because it's a 4-sided table or a board game. Yeah. So four is the maximum. Really. Sustainably speaking. So, yeah. I'm exhausted, literally. I mean, I know it's like early as usual in the morning, but I'm like, oh God. Anyway, I wanted to cover all that stuff because I think it's important, especially the 3D printing issues and their recommendations. And I don't remember, is he, what's that on for? My hot glue gun, battery operated. Another, the Ryobi, indispensable tool, by the way, if you're into wargaming. The Ryobi 18-volt battery operated glue gun. There is no single individual mechanical thing in your life that is more important than the Ryobi portable orange, yellow, fluorescent yellow 18-volt, one's called One Life or One Plus battery portfolio of products. The glue gun especially. All right. So I think it's Maker's Mark. I'm not, but that sounds like a whiskey. Anyway, he's a wonderful guy, and I wish I could talk to him directly. I do have some friends in Australia, and I tell you what, I think he's Australian. And if I can go to Australia, I will definitely see him, and we will talk, and we will have some fun. That's for sure. I mean, because we're all part of the former empire, right? Okay. So that's an invitation. And I'm sorry, I just don't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't think he actually gives his name. Anyway, so there we are, and I hope that this makes some kind of impact on your wargaming life. Okay, so that's enough silliness. Okay, well, until next time. By the way, Little Wars is coming up, which is a week from this Sunday. We'll be there just on the Sunday running the Excalibur board game demo. And why is it a demo? Because you can't buy it anywhere. But what's the point? I can make this thing. If you want this game, it can be made. And it is definitely worth it. So I would, it's not a money-making thing. I will just simply provide anyone who wants this game, I will provide everything you need. And of course, well, you got to pay for it. I'm not going to make money on it, but someone's got to pay for it. I'm not going to just give it away because I can't. I don't have that much money. But the fact is that it's worth it. And if you have enough people that like playing board games, if you want to think of this as Axis and Allies, yes. Or if you want to think of this as a precursor to Axis and Allies and a precursor to Civilization, Sid Meier's Civilization, and a precursor to Catan, Settlers of Catan, then yes, that's what this is. And our kudos, of course, go out to whoever the creators and designers were at Wotan Games in England, who we have tried repeatedly to contact and get information on who created this game, because we might be interested in bringing it back commercially. So we'd like to talk.